Happy Friday Night Live, awesome law nerds. It's so good to see so many of you here so early, but not because I'm running late. That's what happens. This is going to be a night. I've got just straight up lavender kombucha this evening. Let me know in the chat what you're drinking. If you are part of our beloved replay crew, everything will be time-stamped down below for your convenience. So you can just pop into the shit that you want to see. That's how it's going to go. Tonight, we have a quick weekly roundup of the stuff that's happened kind of this week in law around the interwebs. A quick few things in housekeeping. I'll probably do housekeeping first. Quick weekly roundup. I'm going to end the weekly roundup with the update from the Britney Spears court hearing quickly. There's not a ton to go over there. And then we're going to jump into the Josh Duggar arrest and indictment. I will be giving warnings before we get into that topic. It is of a sensitive nature. I'm going to go over the indictment, the arrest documents, and a few other documents that I have not seen anywhere else just yet because your girl pulls the paper. We pull the paper, and we'll talk about what a prosecution like that looks like, what the next court dates are, what I suspect the next steps are, and what the, kind of how the AUSA's office works on things like this, and some of my initial thoughts based on everything that we've seen reported. So that is what is on the docket for this evening. And because it's going to be a lot, we've got a whole night. We'll probably change the lights to red at some point. We should just get into it. If you're new here, let the law nerds in the chat know that you're new and you're just joining us tonight, and they'll let you know how things run and why I talk about changing the light colors. Let's get it. Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. I love the intro music. Yes, I had it written for the podcast. Yes, I use it for everything. I love it so much. A few matters of housekeeping. We are at the very end of the month. That means next Thursday is our members only live stream. We do all the things on the members only live stream, and they stay up for the members only. So if you're a new member, you will get to watch past members only live stream. I did a live reacts to the James Charles apology video. There will be some stuff in this one where I will be reacting to some videos around the web this month as well. That will be next Thursday because it's the beginning of May. Also next week, it's your girl's birthday. It's your girl's birthday a week from today. I will be here for Friday Night Live. My husband and I are going out to dinner for birthday and Mother's Day because it's all at once on Saturday. So I'm going to share that with you guys, and I'm going to hope that we hit 100K before then. I feel like it's a reach, but we're going to reach anyway. 97.5K. Let's see if we can turn this over tonight while we're here. There's over 2,000 of you subbed, and if some of you are watching, if some of you aren't subbed, just do that. We're going to try to get it. Here's the real tea, okay? Mom, if you're watching on Facebook already, I'm sorry, just earmuffs. My parents are coming to visit, and I would love to dye my hair purple before they come to visit. My mom is not feeling the purple hair, and I want to show her in person how great it is going to be. I also don't want to jump the gun on that because I feel like I would jinx myself, and then I would be very, very sad. So those are the housekeeping items. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have a birthday live stream next week. We're going to have a members only live stream next week. I will be drinking on the birthday live stream, and we're just going to do Q&As and have some fun. But yes, if you aren't subbed, we're trying to get to 100K. I promised I would dye all of this purple for 100K, and I'm very excited to do it. I'm ready. Let's do a quick weekly roundup of some of the law stories that I have been following along. First, I got asked about this by a few of you. We're going to talk about the federal, well, we're not going to talk about it. I'm just going to mention it. There are now federal charges pending against the individuals that shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery. I am not surprised that that came. They include federal hate crime charges. I think that is a good thing. We are going to dive into that more. If you guys would like to talk about what those federal charges look like in a federal hate crime regarding a homicide, we can talk about that on the channel if you want. I know we normally do pop culture, but there are some big things that are happening. And since I'm a former prosecutor, sometimes it's helpful to talk about those prosecutions. The length of time it took to get to that prosecution does not surprise me. Federal prosecutions absolutely take time. In the realm of pop culture, we are teeing up for an epic showdown, maybe of the Satan shoes variety, maybe of the Colin the Caterpillar variety, between Walmart and Kanye West's Yeezys over intellectual property. Now, if you guys don't follow the fashion law over on Twitter, they're amazing. The blog is amazing. The lawyer is very smart, very knowledgeable about intellectual property, and does the best breakdowns of what's going on in high-end fashion, retail fashion, and again, all things fashion law. But these are the logos that we're going to see a fight over between Walmart and Kanye West. I'm very interested to see this start to pop off, and we can pull this lawsuit if you guys are curious about what's going on with Walmart and Yeezy. Do they look the same to you? I mean, is somebody going to confuse that this little mark is like that little mark? Does Walmart have their trademark in the category of shoes? So many questions with regard to that. In Erica Girardi news, I didn't even swoop to get into the weekly recap. Next time, we're professionals here. In Erica Girardi news, there have been new court documents. This is going to be in the podcast coming up this week because there's a lot to dive into. I was going to jump into it tonight with Britney Spears stuff, but no other things happened. Lots of other things happened. But I have talked about a lot in the Erica Girardi tangential relation to the bankruptcy proceedings. Her husband, Tom Girardi, famed fall from grace lawyer. There's lots of videos on the channel if you want to catch up on it, podcast episodes of The Emily Show, all the things with regard to the Girardis. But I've said since the beginning of this, at some point, Erica Girardi, who is not a co-debtor in the bankruptcy, will likely be sued in the bankruptcy court. So once you're in bankruptcy, there's this big umbrella and all the shit gets pulled into it. I have said that I think that the bankruptcy trustees will sue her to try to recover funds from her that might belong to the bankruptcy estate. If the law firm, there's two bankruptcies, law firm and personal, if the law firm loaned her business any money, they can sue her and her company to try to get that back. With regard to the personal bankruptcy, if there's assets that were distributed to her that haven't been put into the community property, the Jaguar ring, fancy clothes, expensive shoes and purses, then we can see the bankruptcy trustee suing and moving to sue and get those back. What the bankruptcy trustee has to do is bring on an attorney to act as litigation counsel to pursue those lawsuits. And then they file them like a lawsuit. They have a right to a jury and all of the things. Well, y'all, in an interesting turn of events that I was not expecting, but I was very curious about, Twitter legal commentator Ronald Richards is seeking to be appointed by the bankruptcy trustee as the special counsel for the bankruptcy trustee for the law firm to go after Erica Girardi. So there are questions about, how has he been giving this much commentary? Can he be the attorney seeking to sue Erica Girardi over this? If he does sue Erica Girardi, if he is appointed by the bankruptcy trustee, is he going to bill them for all the shit he's done researching this case to talk about it up to now? Like, are we just going to bill all that research work into the bankruptcy court? And we've got real questions of pre-litigation advertising, pre-litigation publicity, and whether that can disqualify him, whether Erica Girardi's attorneys will seek to disqualify him, and the fact that he would get 35% of anything he is able to recover from Erica Jane. So now there becomes this interest in really pursuing that from the bankruptcy trustee on behalf of the law firm. So then he would be involved in both the individual bankruptcy trustee, where he represents law firms who have not gotten paid in that bankruptcy. And then he would also be involved in the bankruptcy, working essentially for the trustee, for Girardi Keese, to sue Erica Jane. I have a lot of thoughts and questions, but we're not going to get into them tonight. That's going to be for the podcast. I'm going to pull up all of the documents. We're going to talk through some of the things I have. And I'm just like, there's some questions there. There are some very, very real questions there. So those are the stories that I am tracking around the interweb, and trust. There is some very interesting stuff happening, but tonight we have so much to cover. I am going to touch in and say hello, Law Nerds. Hello. I saw that we had 2 super chats come in. Thank you very much. Teresa Minnesota, happy early birthday. Mine's the 9th. I was even born on Mother's Day, and it's Mother's Day again on the 9th. So happy birthday to you too, my fellow Taurus. And then I've got one more. And once I get into the stories, I don't pull up the super chats while I'm talking because I don't always have time. So happy to catch a live. Wish me luck because I'm dyeing my hair last minute the night before I go off on my honeymoon. I love that. Congratulations. Happy honeymoon. If you share a picture on social, tag me at the Emily D. Baker so I can see it and tell you how awesome I think it is. Love watching you, Emily. I'm so glad. And I love those of you that have shared with me on Twitter that you are having watch parties this evening. Hello and welcome. We've got over 3,000 Law Nerds in this stream. Thank you, Octonation. It's good to see you. Welcome to all the new members. It's so good to see you guys coming in. All right, let's talk Britney for just a minute. I'm going to pull up where are my Britney notes? I thought my Britney notes were up. Nope. There are things I was expecting to see with the Britney case, and at the end of the day, everything got put over. And I'm annoyed by that because I really wanted some things to get ruled on, and there's a lot to be ruled on with regards to the Britney conservatorship. So let's just get into a quick Britney conservatorship update. Britney was back in court this last week on April 27th with regard to 4 different motions being heard in court. The one that was gaining the most attention was this motion for legal fees. There is a video on the channel breaking all of that down. We will link it down below. One of the several legal teams for Britney's dad, Jamie Spears, was asking for about over $800,000 in legal fees for about 4 months worth of work. Lynn Spears, Britney's mother, objected and was like, yo, friends, that seems like a lot. Like a lot. That seems like a lot. So during this last court hearing, I was hoping that the court would rule on that. Negative, ghostwriter. The pattern is full. That got put over to the next court hearing. So did the request to remove Jamie as the conservator of the person. Now, he was appointed conservator of the person years ago. He stepped down as conservator of the person temporarily, and Jody Montgomery's been filling that role. Well, Britney's court-appointed attorney, Sam Ingham, had asked the court to just remove Jamie so he can't pop back up like a bad STD. That's a terrible joke, Emily. Either way, we're going to allow it on behalf of Britney's father. So he can't just spring back to life and be like, haha, I want to be conservator of the person again. So Britney's court-appointed attorney has asked to remove him so that Jody Montgomery would be the conservator of the person, and there'd be no worry that at some point in the future, Jamie Spears was going to be like, I'm the conservator of the person again. That also got put over. The most interesting thing that happened in court was that Sam Ingham, at the end of the hearing, was like, oh, by the way, we all have a friend who does this. I have a friend who does this. I love you, Chris. My friend group from high school, we, oh, by the way, like there's nobody's business. We're like, oh, by the way, I'm engaged. Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. Oh, by the way, all these things are happening in my life. Just by the way, because sometimes there's no way to say it. So it's, oh, by the way. So Sam Ingham pulled an, oh, by the way, and he was like, oh, by the way, Courtney. I saw Courtney in the chat. If you're Courtney in the chat, I saw you. Hello. Oh, by the way, Britney would like to address the court directly. I'm sorry. What? What? Britney's going to address the court directly in June. I am going to attend that court hearing. I'm going to break it down for y'all here on the channel. I am dying to hear what Britney has to say to the court. Is Britney going to just like make a motion to remove herself from the conservatorship? Because it is a voluntary conservatorship. Is Britney going to be like, hey, Your Honor, we're good. Can we be good? What do we need to do? Like, her attorney can bring that motion at any time. He's reserved the right to bring that motion. Is he going to do that? Are we going to see, what are we going to hear from Britney when she talks to the court? I am so interested to see what she has to say. I am sure it will be an interesting hearing. I hope that the court does not close it to the public. I hope that it does not get crashed and hacked and issues that they'd had in previous hearings. I am very, very, very interested to hear what Britney has to say talking to the court and what she asks for, and why she feels like, why now, why she feels that she needs to be heard on this proceeding. I'm very interested. So in June, that's when we will be back. At some point before that June hearing, I am going to do a shorter, I have lots of conservatorship videos on the channel, but I'm going to do a shorter kind of road so far so that we can condense what's been going on in the conservatorship, because there are lots of motions and there's been lots of legal back and forth, particularly in the last year. So do a condensed road so far so that you guys have the case brief on that before the next hearing. And then we hear what Britney has to say. I have no idea what she is going to say. She could come into court and be like, Your Honor, I want all of the proceedings sealed. I want everything sealed. I want my privacy back. I think it's unlikely because her conservator, or no, her court-appointed attorney has said that Britney wants the proceedings to be more open, and we've seen him objecting to sealing certain records, that she's wanted things to be more open. She might come in and say, I don't want my dad to have anything to do with anything. Could we remove him as all the conservators? But there's been no motion to that. She may ask to have another or a new medical evaluation. I don't know why she wants to talk to the court and she's not doing it through her attorney, but there's something she feels the judge needs to hear from her, it seems, and I am very, very interested to hear what it is. So that's what's coming up in June with the Britney Spears conservatorship. Britney speaks. I am going to attend the court hearing. I will probably go live after the court hearing. We will do all the things. I am very interested to hear what Britney has to say. There's a part of me that's tempted to just fly to LA, but no, pandemic. Well, I'll be vaccinated by then. We'll see. My parents somewhere are going, yes, come to LA. No, we're gonna attend that though, because you can do that remotely. All right, Y'all, we are 18 minutes in. Why is my camera? At some point, my camera, like when I turn it off for the night, it just shifts, and then this hand just disappears. Like, come on back. There we go. There we go. We're in the center again. It just happens over time. My camera moves. All right, you guys, are you ready? Are you ready to talk Duggars? We are going to do that. I am going to make a quick disclaimer before we get into it. Then I'm going to swoop us into the topic. When I talk about this, I am going to close the chat so that I can go through it without getting all distracted, because yes, ADHD and dyslexic, and sometimes reading documents like this out loud are hard. So, disclaimer for the chat. I love you, law nerds. You guys are amazing. We are not here to judge, to besmirch, to disparage. I have seen the absolute vitriol against Josh Duggar online. I get it. I understand that these charges are bad. However, this is still a family that has children and other siblings who are not involved in this crime. Our chat never fosters hate against anyone, no matter how divisive the person is or how disgusting we find their behavior. We are going to talk about the charging documents, what federal prosecutions are like, what happened today at the arraignment based on reports and those sorts of things. We are not going to, judge and besmirch and disparage. So once I get into this, I'll give a little background on Josh Duggar. I don't watch the show. I'm not hugely familiar with the Duggars. This is outside of my realm of pop culture, but I know lots of you love the Duggars, and I have gotten a bunch of input. And there was a pretty good article in Us Magazine that kind of broke down some of the past allegations. So we will talk about that too. Okay. Thank you, chat, for being amazing. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate that we can come to this chat and have real conversations about the facts as we know them as of today without getting just absolutely buck wild about it. That's what we're here for. That's what we have this chat for. So love the Duggars, hate the Duggars, however you feel about the Duggars. This is one individual who is accused of some horrible shit, and we are going to talk about the shit that they are accused of and leave kind of the rest of the family out of it for the time being. Because again, if a family member gets charged, it's not really your fault. There's nothing you can do. Can't pick your family. Should we go to red lights? Let's go to red lights. We're gonna go to DEFCON red. That's kind of orangey. We need redder. That's too pink. Red, red, red. For those of you that are new, let us know in the chat if you're new. We have a DEFCON system. DEFCON red is DEFCON what the fuckery. So this is an arrest for CP, so it is what the fuckery. I'm going to go ahead and give a disclaimer before I swoop us into the topic. We are talking about sensitive allegations. I am not getting into facts or specifics because we don't know them. We know what the charges are, but I am going to read what the charges are and what the underlying law says. So we are talking about issues of CP. I am going to refer to it as CP, one, because I'm sure I'm already demonetized, and two, out of just clarity for YouTube, but also the nature of the charge is CP. So that is what I'm going to call it. CP is in the vast realm of different forms of child exploitation. It is problematic, but we are going to talk about the charges and the law. So let's just swoop into this and just let's get into it. We're going to be talking for a while. Grab a snack. I've got a lot of documents to go over with y'all. So, Josh Duggar got arrested yesterday, April 29th, 2021, got arraigned April 30th, 2021 in Arkansas. He was arrested by federal agents and is being held in custody until a bail and bond hearing on May 5th. Who is Josh Duggar? Some of you are like, I don't know what you are talking about. We talk about other types of pop culture on this channel, not Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar was on TLC's 19 Kids and Counting. He's not been on TLC apparently since 2015. At that time, allegations surfaced regarding the inappropriate behavior towards minors while he was also a minor. That was never prosecuted. There were statute of limitations issues with late reporting. Some states don't have statute of limitations for those types of crimes because of that reason, because late reporting can be a thing with regard to improper touching with young children. But those are allegations that had been out there in the past. This arrest was a no bail hold until the hearing today. That's not unusual, particularly when the charges are A, federal, and B, serious, that there will be conditions of release. Conditions of release means shit you have to abide by if you are going to be out of court, and there's generally money involved in that too. So there are going to be reports and stuff done before that happens, and then a hearing where both the U.S. attorney and Duggar's own attorneys will get to argue whether he should be out of custody pending trial on a certain amount of bond. It could be property that's signed over to with particular conditions. And today at the arraignment, the judge indicated what some of those conditions might be, and we will talk about that just in a minute. But there have been these types of allegations circling around Josh Duggar, it seems, since at least 2015. And again, I am not hugely familiar with him. I know that his wife just recently announced that she was pregnant with their 7th child. I'm going to share his booking photo with you real quick because that is I don't know what this is as a booking photo. This is, I don't know if it's smug, if it's high. It's a strange booking photo to me. It's just a, whatever. I just got a new driver's license. My photo looks like a booking photo too, but this is an odd booking photo for me. But it is what it is. It's just, the booking photo hits weird for me. And I don't know if you guys feel that way too. If you do, leave it in the chat or leave it down in the comments below. It's just very strange. The Duggars are a fairly polarizing family anyway, once again, with the 19 kids and counting. And with regard to their particular religious beliefs, it seems that was part of the reason he was not prosecuted, that the family was trying to resolve the inappropriate touchings amongst themselves. And now we are here. So arrested by federal agents, held no bail, arraigned today. I'm going to pull up the indictment and we are going to talk through what this indictment says and what the various parts of law mean. So let's pull this up so we can all read along together, and then I'll go through and give a definition of these charges. We're going to read the indictment first. So let's go ahead and read the indictment. That's too big. All right. April 28th, 2021, United States District Court, Western District of Arkansas, Fayetteville Division. These are the charges against him. This is Joshua James Duggar. This is the indictment. Whoa, it binged. Y'all, we're at 97.6. Go on, Law Nerds. There's over 4,000 of you watching. You can go ahead and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, we're moving forward. So thank you so much. Indictment count 1, receipt of CP between on or about May 14th, 2019 and on or about May 16th, 2019 in the Western District of Arkansas, Fayetteville. Defendant Duggar knowingly received CP as it's defined by 18 U.S.C. 2256 8B. We will go over that definition in a moment. Using any means and facility of interstate and foreign commerce. That's why the feds have jurisdiction. And that had been mailed and had been shipped or transported in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce by any means, including computer, in an attempt to do so. All in violation of 18 U.S.C. section 2252A, sub A2 and B1. I will define those charges below. The reason this is written this way is because it is alleging the aspects of the crime which involves interstate commerce, generally meaning that a computer was used to transmit these types of images, and he was on the receiving end of that, which is why you see this say received CP. Count 2, possession of CP on or between May 14th, 2019 and May 16th, 2019, the same timeline as count 1. In Arkansas, this is your jurisdiction. This is your location. Defendant knowingly possessed, literally had in their possession material that contained images of CP as the term is defined in 18 U.S.C. 2256 8B, including images of minors under the age of 12. This is going to be an enhancement for the crime. So it lets you know that this is not just minors under the age of 18, but minors then also under the age of 12, which in the law is a worse designation the younger the child is. That had been mailed, shipped, or transported by any means and facility of interstate and foreign commerce and affecting interstate and foreign commerce by any means, including computer, and that was produced using materials that had been mailed and shipped and transported in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce by any means, including by computer, in an attempt to do so. So that is the possession in violation of 18 U.S.C. 2252A, sub A5B and B2. So at the very heart of the thing is receiving and then possessing. Those are the two different counts. Now, this does not indicate how many images. This is just images were received, images were possessed. These generally involve a computer, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Forfeiture allegation. The grand jury realleges and incorporates by reference all counts above. Upon conviction of this court of this indictment, defendant shall forfeit to the United States, pursuant to the code section, any visual depiction described in 18 U.S.C., any book, periodical, film, videotape, or other matter, which such visual depiction basically, we're not going to let you keep any imagery that we have found. We're going to go ahead and take all of that from you, no matter what it is, computer, book, magazine, whatever it is. You can't keep this shit. We're taking it and keeping it in evidence and not letting you have it. Also, any property, real or personal, constituting or traceable to gross profits or other proceeds obtained from the offenses in the indictment. It's a fairly standard term, but if anything was sold, they would have alleged it. But it's saying if there were any proceeds from having those, then that would also be forfeited. Like, hey, we're the government. These are crime proceeds. We're going to take it. I talk about that a lot more in the Jen Shaw case with her federal indictment because it's more applicable there. That's a financial crime versus this being actually a crime of tangible possession. Any real or personal property, including any computer equipment, and it's like, whoop, there it is. The government's going to take all your tech and keep it. Used or intended to be used to commit or to promote the commission of the offenses in the indictment or traceable to any such. So anything that was used to access, view, transmit is all going to be taken. This is, if we can't find the property, we can substitute the property. And that is really the end of this indictment. This was an indictment after a grand jury. That's what indictment means. A grand jury was presented with evidence. We talked about this again in the Jen Shaw case. A grand jury was seated, was presented with evidence by U.S. prosecutors only. They have to present both sides of a thing. They say, hey, this is what we have. These are the crimes. Do you think there's enough evidence to hold this person in custody, hold them over for a trial on these crimes? And the grand jury was like, yeah, seems like that happened. Now, this is not the same standard of proof you use to convict someone in a jury trial. This is a more like, yeah, I could see that. I can see that being the case is your grand jury standard versus hell yes, you did the thing. Hell yes, hell to the yes, yes. You did the thing. You violated the law. That's your beyond the reasonable doubt. That's to convict. These are allegations that were proved to grand jury using that lower standard of, yeah, I can see it. I can see it. So based on what you've presented, I can see that being possible. We can go ahead and go to trial. We can hold you over in custody, which is exactly what's happening here. He is in custody on these charges. I am going to go ahead and define these charges for you so that we know what is actually charged, what these crimes actually are. So let's get into these definitions real quick. It's a lot of words, and I apologize for that. But as to CP overall, it is defined in 18 USC 2256 8B, which is literally, I'm reading you the code, and then we'll talk about it. Any visual depiction of sexually explicit conduct involving a minor, someone under the 18 years of age. Visual depictions include photos, videos, digital or computer generated images. That there's been a lot of actual case law regarding computer generated images because these all fall under child exploitative crimes. But if it's a computer image and there is no actual child, does it still count? Here's how the courts all came down on that. Yes, it does. Yes, it doesn't matter if it's a digitally creative image or a like AR image, but that is a different conversation for a different day about how courts have evaluated whether, well, if no child is in the photos because it's a digital rendering, is a child being exploited? And the courts were like, no, it's illegal. Don't do that either. So digital or computer generated images indistinguishable from an actual minor. So like not animated, and images created, adapted, modified, but appearing to depict an identifiable actual minor, undeveloped film, undeveloped videotape. You can now get a sense of how long ago some of these laws were written, and electronically stored data that can be converted into a visual image of a child or CP are also deemed illegal visual depictions under federal law. And when you say electrically stored data, it's like, well, if it's like the data on the computer, is it actually an image because it's actually just code? This gets around that issue. I'm going to note that CP regarding a minor, the age federally is 18. It does not matter if the age of consent in an individual state is different. The age of consent in a given state is irrelevant. It's the depiction of a minor under the age of 18 engaging in, quote, sexually explicit conduct, and that's what's illegal. Also note that the legal definition of sexually explicit conduct does not require the image is activity. It doesn't have to be activity. There's no way around this. We're just going to define the things because it's a law channel. We're just going to define the things. A picture of a naked child may constitute illegal child P if it is sufficiently suggestive. Now, I broke this down when I talked about Gabby DiMartino selling photos of herself in the buff as a young child on her OnlyFans and whether that constituted here. And we had a long conversation about California's law, what the law is, and what suggestive means. Now, the reason I hope a case like this doesn't go to a jury is because a jury will have to decide if the images are suggestive, if the images involve sexual activity. And most adults are traumatized by having to see that. And even law enforcement and prosecutors who have to deal with these types of crimes have to deal with kind of the secondhand trauma of dealing with images that relate to things that, the large majority of people never, ever, ever want to see in their life. And exposure to that can be difficult. The thing is, with the feds really don't play. And a lot of these cases don't go to trial. A jury's not exposed to these images. It's really just the law enforcement officers and prosecutors that are then exposed to this in the course of prosecuting it. So let's talk about what they have to prosecute. Count 1, 2252A sub A2 of the U.S. Code is the receiving and distributing section. The subsection of A2 includes two different types of receiving. Let me pull this up real quick. Where did it go? I've got too many tabs open in my brain all the time. This does not say distribute in count 1. It says knowingly received. After I go through the definitions, I'll talk about how this works just from my experience in prosecution and how these things kind of happen. But this does not say distribute. The law, this subsection says receives or distributes. We're only talking about receiving. We're not talking about distribution here. And it's receiving any CP using any means, including computer. And this is the language of the law, which is why the language of the indictment is what it is. Any means or facility of interstate or foreign commerce, that can be literally the internet, or has been mailed or shipped or transported affecting interstate commerce by any means, including computer, or any material that contains CP using means of interstate commerce that has been mailed, et cetera, et cetera. So material that contains CP or CP itself. And those are the two kind of subsects that the U.S. attorneys will prove to a jury if it goes to jury trial, or if it pleads that they will show the defense, look, these are the evidence of these charges, and that they've shown the grand jury, these are the evidence of these charges. That subsection B1 is the sentencing provision that says that this crime carries 5 years minimum, which means if you're convicted of this crime, you start with 5 years of federal prison time and then a maximum of 20 years federal prison time for that one charge. For charge 2, it's a violation of USC 2252A sub A5B, which is the possession. So any person who knowingly possesses or knowingly accesses with intent to view any book, magazine, periodical, film, videotape, computer disc, or other material that contains images of CP that has been mailed, shipped, transported, and then all of the same language with regard to interstate commerce by any means, including computer. Why does interstate commerce matter? Well, when it comes to these two charges, as they are in the indictment. These can be prosecuted in two ways. These can be prosecuted both on a federal level or prosecuted on a state level. So the states have laws against this stuff too, just like the feds do. So for the feds to take a case and have jurisdiction over a case, one, they have to want to. And when I say that, I'm not being facetious. They have to want to take a case. The feds have plenty of work and plenty of resources, and they get to cherry pick the cases that they take, and they don't mess around. And it's why they barely ever lose, because they take cases that are kind of a slam dunk. And if they're not, then they go to the state prosecutors. We're going to have a chit chat about this real quick. If the feds are investigating a case, federal officers are investigating a case that they don't think is strong, eventually the federal officers will go to the local prosecutor's office and be like, hi, we're not prosecuting this with the AUSAs, but you might like to prosecute it. And most state agencies are like, yeah, that's great. We'll do that. We're happy to do that. And so I've been involved in a number of prosecutions where they've been large task force busts. One of them, I prosecuted 40 cases, but I think there were like 60 some odd arrests made at one time in this huge operation. But the big charges, the big crazy charges went to the local AUSAs, and then the 40 other cases came to me at the state prosecutor level. So the feds take the larger cases that have quite a lot of evidence to back them up, cases that are significant in some way, which means to me that this case could be a bust of either this individual that they've been watching, or because these dates are very specific, it could be that there was an operation with regard to a particular form, website, dark website, where they were not targeting the individuals per se. They were targeting the location where individuals were sharing these things. And because they were targeting where these were being shared, anyone who shared images or received images during that period of time got lumped in and prosecuted with this, which is why it can take time to go one by one. And if that was part of an operation, because in the press release, this also was part of my thought process. The press release indicated that this case was put together by Project Safe Childhood, which is a nationwide initiative to combat the growing epidemic of child sexual exploitation. Let me pull this up real quick. This is the DOJ. Their website's been terrible today, but this was their press release regarding this. Oh my goodness. Sorry, y'all. So this was part of Project Safe Childhood, a nationwide initiative to combat the growing epidemic of child sexual exploitation and abuse, launched in May 2006 by the Department of Justice, led by U.S. attorneys' offices and CEOs. Project Safe Childhood marshals federal, state, and local resources to better locate, apprehend, and prosecute individuals who exploit children via the internet, as well as identify and rescue victims. And then there's a link for more information. So this indicates to me, because Homeland Security was involved with this, that they were probably targeting a particular website. Again, this is my speculation from working as a prosecutor, that they were probably targeting a hub where this information was being transmitted, and then went one by one to track down the IP addresses and locations of the individuals who had transmitted through that central hub. This is how this stuff travels around the internet, by individual to individual, sharing, form sharing. It's like LimeWire or Napster, but for really nefarious, awful shit. And that might indicate why, the date range is so close in time, because they did that operation with that date range. Could have been a sting operation where they swoop people in. And it also makes sense to me why this might be one of the last potential indictments, because if there was any ongoing investigation, once this becomes public, then people who are aware within that circle that this is happening become aware of him. And that with the publicity that this garners because of his public figure status, that might be why we are now seeing in 2021 a prosecution going to grand jury and going forward, that instead of in 2019 or in 2020. So there's a couple things there that indicate that this might have been some types of larger operation, versus somebody who came across this on a cell phone or a computer and went, whoa, no, that's not cool, and called the feds. The rest of the statement from the feds said that a Springdale man was arrested yesterday for receiving and possessing CP, according to court documents. Joshua Duggar, 33, allegedly used the internet to download child sexual abuse material. Duggar allegedly possessed this material, some of which depicts the sexual abuse of children under the age of 12 in May 2019. He's also charged by indictment with receiving and possessing CP. If convicted, faces up to 20 years of imprisonment, fines up to $250,000 on each count. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after considering the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other factors. It talks about the prosecution, who the prosecutors are, and that this was part of the Homeland Security Task Force. So that is what the feds had to say about it. We've talked about the charges on it. We've talked about the sentencing on the charges. We've talked a little bit about how operations go down on this. I wanted to show you a few of the other documents that I pulled because I thought it might be interesting to you, because these are things you don't always see with regard to cases. If you just look at media reporting and such, they don't pull up everything because they don't spend 2 hours live with the law nerds talking about this. So let's get into the arrest warrant if you're curious so that you can see what that looks like. Oh, no, instead of doing the arrest warrant, let's do the docket first and then go item by item. Let's do that. I reversed my own opinion. So this is the docket on this case. The indictment was filed in court on April 28th. So this indicates to me that this was a recent indictment that was entered with the court. So the grand jury just came back with that the docket was then sealed. There are other sealed items, including the criminal cover sheet, the citation calendar, and the arrest warrant. So those were all sealed. The warrant would be issued based on the indictment, but they don't want anyone to know that it's coming. So those all stay sealed until the arrest is effectuated by law enforcement, in this case, Homeland Security. So that's where you see on April 29th the entry that Josh had been arrested, that the arrest warrant was executed, that the hearings as to Josh Duggar would be accessible by video conference only. Access to the courthouse is not allowed. Any non-party desiring access to the hearing should contact Chambers, and then they gave a way to do that. Recording of these proceedings by any means is prohibited. We know that very well. Violation of this prohibition may result in sanctions. Disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Please keep devices muted. So this was getting ready for that court hearing. Notice of attorney appearances. These were the defense attorney notices because they obviously had to appear for their client who had just been arrested. This is a pretrial report that is sealed. Waiver of personal appearance at arraignment just means that you can appear via video and not actually in the flesh in court. That there was a motion for an attorney to appear pro hoc vice. Pro hoc vice just means I am not licensed here, but I have a friend and my friend is licensed here. And can you please let me appear in court? That motion was then granted. The case was unsealed today on the 30th. The minute entry for proceedings with regard to the arraignment is that Duggar was held on count 1 and 2. He pled not guilty to the indictment. The attorneys were retained for him and they were present. That the people appeared, or the government appeared for the United States. That defense counsel requests discovery in open court, meaning, Your Honor, can the people please provide the discovery? And then they will turn over all the digital discovery pursuant to the orders made by the court. The government has 7 days to provide the information. Defendant remains in custody of the U.S. Marshal Service pending a hearing, release on bond. Jury trial set for July 6th. That's going to get bumped back, I would imagine. And then there is a bail hearing set for May 5th. This is the order of detention. We're going to pull up that document quick. And then a pretrial scheduling order that has all of the dates set, including that trial date on July 6th and the pretrial conference on July 1st. Again, I imagine that those dates will be set back. But when we come to talk about criminal prosecutions, different than civil cases that we deal with on this channel, there is a statutory timeline that has to be met unless the defendant waives that timeline. The people or the government, I will use them interchangeably, could very well turn over, a terabyte or more worth of data, and you'll see the defense file a motion going, hi, Thank you for all that information. What we're going to need to do is go ahead and have some more time, but that's going to be determined after May 5th when his custody status is determined, whether he remains in custody or is out of custody on bond. What is reported by media outlets that were there today is that if he is released on bond, the judge did indicate that he would need to have a third party living with him, like full time, like a third party, an actual third party, to make sure that he adheres to conditions of his release, and will not be allowed to have contact with any minors. None. No minors. So he will have a guardian and no minors. There would probably also be terms with regarding internet access and things like that. Now we can look at some of those documents that I said we were going to look at. This is more just in case you are curious how these things work and what's filed in court. This is the arrest warrant with the seal of the United States from the district court. You are commanded to arrest and bring to the United States magistrate judge without unnecessary delay James Joshua Duggar, who's accused of an offense or violation of the following document filed with the court: indictment, and then it gives the crimes listed in the indictment. These are the reasons that you can be arrested here in this document, and then the charges, and then signed by the court. You have to have authority to arrest someone. And in this case, the police didn't see a crime happening. Officers didn't witness it contemporaneously. So arrest warrant based on the indictment is the direction that goes in. This is the court's pretrial orders and the initial appearance, arraignment, and minute sheet. This just goes through all the different things that happened in court today. They're checkboxes, which makes it really easy for the court clerk to be like, the defendant was read his rights. The court finds the defendant received the charging document. The court finds the defendant read the charging document. Now, I saw a lot of speculation on the interwebs about why the defense attorneys didn't want the plea or the charges read out in open court. There's nothing unusual about that. This happened in the Shaw arraignment too, and happens in most arraignments, where the court will say, do you waive reading of the indictment? The defendant and their attorney already know what the indictment says. There's no reason for the court to read through the entire thing. Everyone has it. But you have the absolute right to have your indictment read in open court. But waiving that is very common and not nefarious. It's not that they're trying to hide what the charges are. The indictment's going to be public and is now public. So it's really about not wasting the judge's time, not needing it to be done. And it's fairly standard procedure that the defense waives the reading of the indictment. This is the defendant's plea, not guilty on all counts, schedule setting, the detention hearing, the trial date, and the defendant is remanded to custody of the U.S. Marshals. Proceedings began at 11:10 a.m., ended at 11:18 a.m. All of this happened in 8 minutes. The attorneys appeared, the defendant was advised, the defendant pled not guilty, they set the dates, and the judge went, and we're done. So that's what happened. This is the detention order, just saying that he is ordered to remain detained without bail, and there will be a detention hearing scheduled for May 5th. So we will next see something happen on May 5th. And the court set all of their pretrial conferences and the rules for discovery and the government's turning over of discovery within 7 days. Nothing unusual or out of the ordinary in these documents. I pulled them in case anyone was interested, but these are all the disclosures that happen in a federal case. And this is provided to the defense attorneys and to the defendant. It tells the attorneys when they need to file their motions to compel, that the people have a continuing duty to disclose. It's just a really clean writing of everything that's going on. I have not seen this in every jurisdiction, but it's really actually very helpful. Information about the change of plea, when there's a change of plea hearing, what the last date for that is before the trial setting. And that's everything going on in the Josh Duggar indictment, arraignment, and the next proceedings. As I said, I would talk a little bit about what I thought, and I kind of sprinkled that in for sure. It looks like this might have been part of an operation more so than an individual turning him in. That's just based on everything I've seen. That could absolutely not be the case. We may get more information on that. We may not. It's very likely that this will plea for some term of prison. It could plea very quickly, but the defense attorneys will have to have time to go over all of this information. Everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and that presumption of innocence carries through. So the defense attorneys will go through and make sure evidence was collected properly and can be admitted, because you can go ahead and do all of this, but if you don't preserve the evidence properly, you can catch somebody in a thing and still not prosecute it because you didn't do it right. There are rules. Society has rules. There are constitutional rights that have to be adhered to, and that is a very important part of this. So the defense will go through and look at what has been recovered, how it was recovered, if it can be admitted into evidence, and all of that. And that's very, very common that those things will be reviewed by the defense attorney. So the defense will do their thing. We will see what happens, and we will hear more information in the detention hearing, I imagine. That's where we got quite a lot of information in the Jen Shah indictment, depending on if the defense argues it or not. The defense might not argue it, but either way, he is going to be out of the house, away from his children. I believe his wife is pregnant with number 7, and he's not going to be able to be around his kids, his family's kids, or any other kids. So this is what it is. Other thoughts? I'm going to get to questions, and I'm sure other thoughts will come up as I get to questions, because that's what we're here for. We're here to answer questions. Law is a conversation. We've been talking about this for almost an hour. I think we went through it pretty quick though. So let's get to y'all. Look at you. You go, Law Nerds. There's almost 5,000 of you here. If you are new to the channel and new to the Law Nerds, just to be a Law Nerd, all you need to do is go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I will be covering this as more information comes up with the legal facts, not fuckery. We're at 97.7. Y'all, we're going to have purple hair in no time. Just go ahead and subscribe. I'm very excited. All right, let's get to questions. I'm going to hit the super chats that I missed. I know that's a heavy topic. I try to both talk about the things plainly because they're the laws and this is what the laws say, but also try to keep it, I don't want to say family friendly. None of this is family friendly, but try to keep it algorithm friendly because I do like having a YouTube channel and I would like the YouTube gods not to punish me for talking about crimes that people commit, are alleged to have committed. I'm just going to be clear on that. We are drinking lavender kombucha tonight. It's very calming. All right, let's get into a few of these super chats I missed while I was running through all of that information. Simply Me MJ, happy early birthday, Emily. Thank you so much. You guys, give a huge thank you to the mods for capturing these for me. We don't get to do that every week, depending on how many people we have in the chat, but the mods are fantastic. Bridget Diesel said, does anyone have a dog trying to get their coffee off them? No, just me. Fair enough, Bridget. Jamie Pullman, we are birthday twins, 5'9", happy birthday. Thank you. You have a birthday twin in the chat for sure. Nope Ninja said happy early birthday. Thank you. Barbara Smith, so sorry. CP has been taken for decades and child pornography is not it. It's definitely not it, for sure. Cynthia said Josh was raided 2 years ago at his car lot. He has lived in I think that's a metal house behind his family house for the last 3 years. He's not worked, but has 6.5 kids. Okay, Katie D, thank you for the super sticker. Kathy Mallory, I found out about this before KJ ever reported about this. I know the truth. Josh is a creep. My prayers are with the family. There's an unborn baby. I think everybody's thoughts are with his kids because no matter what happens with this is something very, very hard to recover from for a family because these allegations are very public. The feds do not play, and it becomes very likely that somebody could face substantial amounts of prison time. And also, everyone now knows your business, though I think that's been out there with regards to him for a while. 50, feisty and fabulous. Good to see you. There is a victim unit that can get Anna and the kids out of that family. I'm sure victim services are in touch with the family. That is one of the things that victim services do. And the feds have quite a lot of options for victim services. Congratulations at Sleep Deprived on graduation. Congratulations, Sleep Deprived, on your graduation. Sarah Myers, I know the lawyers will see the evidence against Josh when they look, if they are like, oh shit, do you think that they will ask or push for a plea deal? Why risk a trial? Sarah, that's a very good question. Most federal cases don't go to trial, like most. But it depends. Once again, the only people that can offer a plea really, well, the judge sometimes. You can plea open to the court. And with only 2 charges, that could probably happen. You can plea open to the court. You can just show up in court and be like, I plead guilty, sentence me. But if the prosecutors offer a plea deal, that would be in conversation with the defense. The defense would at some point review the evidence and let the prosecutors know that they are amenable. But why risk trial? These charges are very hard to go to trial on because the nature of the charges are so distasteful that juries have a hard time parsing it unless there are substantial procedural issues where you can argue to a jury, look, the government did not do this right, or this was a setup, or this was a sting operation done badly, and this is government entrapment or something like that. I'm not saying that's happening here. I'm saying that those are reasons one would go to trial. Octonation, thank you so much. Only 2,300 subs till purple hair. Is it really that many? Yeah, we can do 2,300 subs. 50 feisty and fabulous. The victims unit has counselors that will help undo any brainwashing. I don't know what the situation is with that, and she'll be able to break free. I hope. I hear at least one sister is testifying. I mean, we're not going to know anybody testifying in this because this is possession of CP, so this is very much a computer crime. I know there have been other allegations, but if there is a sentencing, then that is generally when you would see that kind of a thing. I will say I shared on Twitter, and if you guys don't follow me there, I'm not always on Twitter, some days more so than others, but there was a statement by the Duggar family, and it is only fair to share that as well. The Duggar family made a statement today saying, "We appreciate your continued prayers for our family at this time. The accusations brought against Joshua today are very serious. It is our prayer that the truth, no matter what it is, will come to light, and that this will all be resolved in a timely manner. We love Josh and Anna and continue to pray for their family." Jim, Bob, and Michelle Duggar. I mean, it's better than most YouTuber apologies you see, because they do say we want to hear the truth no matter what it is. And the truth in a case like this can be very, very hard. Let me get into as many questions as I can. Thank you guys for thanking the mods. Thank you guys for being amazing in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's go through these real quick. The $1 million question. Oh, Tracy Minnesota. I don't think so. Chelsea's Cozy Corner. Hello. Yes, let's make it keep dinging. Let's make it keep dinging this evening. And maybe we'll do a palate cleanser with Lawyer Cat before we get to Court of Public Opinion. Thank you guys for all the love to the mods. It can be difficult for sure reining in feisty topics, but you guys are great because we're just talking about the facts, and I appreciate that very much. B. Nita, there is nothing in these charges. Oh, for those of you listening in the background, I sometimes forget to read the question out loud. Asked, will his kids get taken by the police? If there are no parents and no family to place them with, that can happen. I do not think that that's likely in this case. It's likely that he will not be able to have contact with them. They do seem, they do seem to have a lot of family around. A lot of family. And so kids would go with family and stuff like that. Will different types of services probably be in touch with the family with regard to this? Maybe. But there's also charges under the law that regard parents of children. This is so freaking dark. Where the nature of the images are of the defendant's own child. So there are different charges for that too. And in that type of a case, that would be more likely that those subsections, those charges are not what's alleged here. This is receipt and possession, but the law does have subsections if the child is one's own child. So when you say like there's a special place in hell for those charges, there's actually its own subsection. So because those subsections aren't pled, it does lead me to believe that this was not involving his own children, which thank God, and is receiving images. And again, the law does allow for digitally created images where there like are no live actual children. So we just don't know the nature of that. But all prosecutorial agencies have victim witness services, and I am sure they will be in touch with the family. And to what extent the family receives that, I have no idea. Angie English, hello, and welcome to the Law Nerds. In your opinion, Emily, what do you think the odds are that the courts will actually send him to prison? Oh, I think there's prison time in this. Look, the feds do not mess around. The feds, if Lori Loughlin went to prison, if this is proven, he is going to prison. How long he will go to prison for? The first charge is a minimum of 5 years. So if he is convicted or pleads to charge number 1, it is 5 years to start. So yes, I will be floored. I don't normally make predictions. I would be very surprised because the only way he doesn't go to prison on this is to not be convicted of this. So if he's convicted, he will go to prison. Nick said, I've been quitting smoking for the last few weeks and your streams have really been helping. Congratulations. Nice to have a friendly voice in the background. Well, Nick, I have so many hours of content. I can be in the background all the time. I appreciate that you like it. I will let my family know. We're actually a very chatty family. You don't want to ever go to the movies with us. I don't know if anyone's going to the movies again ever, but we do this. Question, is it normal to have as many law firms and lawyers as Jamie in the conservatorship case? Why would anyone need that many? I really don't know what's typical for a conservatorship case. The Britney conservatorship case has such a large and dynamic estate that you're going to have like litigation attorneys that specialize in like the business aspects. So it's hard to say what's typical because her case just isn't typical. It seems like a lot. The court has allowed it. Her attorney hasn't objected to it. So it is, I don't think there's any typical when it comes to the Britney conservatorship. I think that that's a great question. Thank you. Emily, questions. Do you have any thoughts on Rudy Giuliani? Do you think an arrest could be imminent? Monuments to the gods of speculation. I have not kept up on what the raid was regarding, what the search was regarding. So I have no thoughts on it yet. I might do that on a weekly roundup. It's always interesting when lawyers get raided. I might do that on a weekly roundup next week. There has been a lot going on this week and I was sick this week, so I don't have thoughts. Question, will he have to register as a sex offender? I didn't check if this particular charge carries sex offender registration. Hold on, let me look real quick. And I don't know that off the top of my head. It would be unusual to me if a conviction on this offense did not carry registration, but registration normally is an outcropping of the offense. I know those things better with regard to California law specifically. So I would have to look. I'm looking at the language of the law right now because I have the back end of the law pulled up. Interestingly enough, that to some of these charges, it's an affirmative defense if you possess less than 3 images. Isn't that strange? We didn't talk about that earlier, but there's an affirmative defense but it was only 1. I didn't know it was CP, which covers like the people who received Gabby DiMartino's images, right? It was like, no, I didn't. What? I didn't think. The statute of the particular case is silent as to it, but I'll look it up and let you guys know on Twitter. Because I would be surprised if it's 5 years in prison, there wouldn't be registration with that. But because it is possession of imagery, There could be a quirk there. So I will look. Victoria said, are past offenses against children likely to make enough of a difference to avoid him being let out on bail? I don't think he has any convictions. There are allegations from him as a minor, and it would be very, very unlikely that would come into a bail consideration. What would come into a bail consideration? Now, they can set it pretty high. The feds do that. Other jurisdictions do not set high bail. There's lots of debate among the cash bail system in the United States, but that wasn't your question. So past actions are unlikely to come up, because the things that will come up are likelihood to reoffend, likelihood to flee, if he can be monitored, if he can live separately, if he can have a third party. He would have to have a monitor essentially living with him, generally someone that he would have to pay for, living with him to make sure he does not offend, or if there's restrictions on accessing the internet, accessing minors, to make sure none of that happens while he's out on bail. So there would be quite a lot of conditions with regard to bail, but it's normally to ensure public safety. And if you can do that with those other things, then the court would do that. African lady said, Natalie Lawyer Chick said a very low percentage of federal cases are found not guilty. Well, that's true, because I'll talk about that for a bit. African lady, it's good to see you. Natalie Lawyer Chick's just absolutely fantastic. I believe she covered this earlier today. I tend, for me, to not watch the other lawyers who talk about the same stuff on LawTube here on the YouTubes until after I've talked about it, because I want to give and share my thoughts and my takeaways, and then see what everybody else thinks, and then juxtapose that later or talk about it later in a panel setting or what have you. The feds, look, being a federal prosecutor, no shade to the federal prosecutors, but they get a lot of time and resources to make sure that the cases that they are putting out in the public are cases that they are very confident they're going to win, versus a state prosecutor who gets a case because a crime happened and they're like, find the evidence, the person's in jail. And you're like, oh, this just happened. We're building the case as we go, because you're prosecuting crimes that happen contemporaneously. So being a state prosecutor definitely comes with cases that are more challenging and cases where you definitely sometimes lose. Being a federal prosecutor is a much easier job. It's got its own quirks because it's much more political. It's got its own things. But when it comes to the actual prosecuting of the crimes, they're basically ready for trial by the time they take them to a grand jury. And the prosecutors had this case for years sometimes to look at. And by the time they take it to the grand jury, they're like, we could go to trial tomorrow, bitches. Let's ride. And the defense attorneys are scrambling to get through all of the evidence and to keep up. The prosecutors are ready to go. They're like, I could do this shit tomorrow. Let's ride. So they are definitely in the greater position of power when it comes to the feds. I imagine that being a defense attorney in the federal system would be very hard, because you have limited time to go through everything that the government throws at you. The state system's a little bit different. I'm going to try to catch up with questions. Why is Homeland Security involved? Dear Dana, that's a fantastic question. They are a investigatory wing of the federal government, and they were the ones that were investigating this as part of the task force that was indicated in the press release. The task force name is the what is it? Project Safe Childhood. So they're part of that. But Homeland Security is an investigative wing, just like the Secret Service is an investigative wing for certain types of crimes, just like the FBI is. So the FBI isn't the only investigative arm of the federal government. The Homeland Security increasingly is involved in these, and was involved in the Jen Shaw case as well. Question, would you be able to get any type of supervisor video visitation with the kids? I have no idea what the court will decide to do with that. We will see. If the court allows it, it will be in the detention release in that hearing. Question, if he's convicted, will he get any psychological treatment while in prison? I don't know if he will choose to do that, and I don't know if they will force that. It's always an option in most federal prisons. Whether he will do that or not, I don't know. Whether that will be ordered as part of sentence is always possible too. Question: a part of the legal language was knowing possession. What about unknowing? Can someone destroy your life by sending some CP? How would one react in such a situation? So there are affirmative defenses in the law. This is a great question, Melina. Let me pull up the affirmative defenses that I was looking at. There are some affirmative defenses. I will say when it comes to, I hate talking about this. Here's why I hate talking about this. I don't want to give anyone ideas. This is something that is done in hacking and in the dark web, which is part of why hacking can be difficult, because if a business gets hacked, one of the things hackers will do is upload a crap ton of CP to a business computer or what have you. Normally that leaves a footprint. Normally you're not going to get wrapped into an investigation like this because it's easy to track down that footprint, but people do exactly what you're asking. The question is not out of left field. So when it comes to affirmative defenses under the law for this, it's the limited amount we talked about, but also promptly and in good faith without retaining or allowing any person other than law enforcement to access a copy. You took reasonable steps to destroy it, reported the matter to law enforcement. So if a computer system gets hacked and that's something that you suspect, call law enforcement, tell them what has happened. Keep notes of what's going on. Don't let anyone else access the computer because it is something that people try to do. And it is something that you can actually hire people on the dark web to do. I hate talking about dark web stuff because I feel like I don't want to give people ideas, but I also feel like the only way we can be aware of this shit is to talk about it. So I'm always torn. I had a colleague at the DA's office who used to say to their juries, I'm sorry to have to do this to you, but you are going to walk out of here and part of you is going to wonder why you haven't been a criminal, because I'm going to explain to you what these crimes are and you're going to go, oh, well, that's very interesting. It's an interesting way to make money. It's like, I am not here to teach you how to be a criminal. I understand sometimes, especially in cyber crimes, it can be fascinating. So we can see. Teresa Minnesota, good to see you. The $1 million question. Oh, we did that. I got to that. Thank you. This, I've found where I am in the chat now. Fat Farm 06 said, if rumors are true and someone tipped off Jim Bob and that's why he didn't go to the I don't know that there was a convention. Could someone get in trouble for that? Tipping someone off to an arrest, it's really hard to answer because it just depends. If evidence is not destroyed, then there's not a ton of harm in it. And it depends on what the timing of that is, because this only came down into the court system on the 28th. So that's a day before. And by that point, they're already going to have most of the digital evidence, just not the physical computers. Shane, can his wife be held responsible for the fines? If there are fines and the money is community property, then in that roundabout way, yes. Sam, I did not see you in the chat. Hello, my friend. Thank you. It's good to see you. Corey, hello from Facebook. I am once again behind on the live. It happens. I do have a question though. With the charges being CP, how is it responsible to let him be in a house with all the kids? Well, he's not going to be now. And if he's released on bail, he won't be. If the question is, how did they know that this happened in 2019 and allowed him? Well, until they have the evidence to prove it, you can't take someone out of their home because people have, constitutional rights and civil liberties. I mean, unless you're Britney Spears, but that's my own personal opinion. And snarkiness, no snarkiness needed. Because people have constitutional rights, you can't just take people out of their homes on allegations until you have all the evidence, and cyber crimes and computer crimes can take quite a while to investigate. It looks like this was investigated and turned over to the feds, just this week. So that's what that is. Hopefully that answers your question. And I'm going to try to catch up a little bit. You guys have lots of questions. Oh, Hannah Hill asked the same question. Why was he allowed around his kids while the investigation was ongoing? Because it's an investigation. And until they have enough evidence to bring charges, they are presumed innocent and you have constitutional rights. Again, the government can't come just take you out of your home and they're like, we think you thought this thing. It's not Minority Report. I mean, yet. Thank you, Meg. All right. I think I am caught up. Thank you so much. Happy early birthday, celebrating with a Psycho Imperial Stout. Thank you, Celine. I'm going to try to catch up in the chat. I got behind on some super chats. Lolo FC, my birthday is next Friday on the 7th. Question, are they gathering additional evidence since May 2019? Why did they wait 2 years? What if worse happened in those past 2 years and they already knew? Christopher, I get it. It's criminal prosecutions on the federal level can move very slowly. I'm going to refer back to the Jen Shaw one because it's one we're talking about regularly. Some of those allegations went on since 2012. So all of the victims from like 2013 on are like, you alleged this back to 2012. It is 2021. What if you had just arrested them in 2012? Then everyone else wouldn't have been a victim. I get it, but also slow to prosecute preserves people's constitutional rights. And that is the way that the system is designed. It's to protect the constitutional rights of the defendant first and protect society second. So they would have started investigating. Maybe not in May 2019, but they would have found evidence that tied back to May 2019. At what time they found that evidence, we do not know. It's very possible that this was a sting that they traced back in computer crimes in 2020 and traced it back to this particular section in time in 2019 and weren't aware of it that far back. So we don't know. Question, kind of off topic, but if there was an allegation against someone, is that enough to arrest? Allegations have to have probable cause. So you have to, we'll do a whole Fourth Amendment day. I'll bring on a panel. We'll get like Natalie Lawyer Chick and Nate the Lawyer, because Natalie's a defense attorney. Nate the Lawyer was a cop. And we'll talk about things like probable cause to arrest, but you have to have cause to arrest. And we can go through the lengthiness of what you need for probable cause to arrest, because just arresting somebody without probable cause is a violation of their constitutional rights. And you can't go ahead and do that. Would the amount of children affect his bond? Asked Miss Mia. Not necessarily, but we will see that as a condition of bond, he can't be around minors, so it kind of doesn't matter. I'm going to try to catch up. I got very, very far behind. I think we already talked about this, Vanessa, that Homeland Security, this is part of what they do. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Shaylin said, how are grand juries chosen? The same way regular juries are chosen. You get a subpoena to do grand jury duty instead of regular jury duty. And depending on the area where you are, that can be that you go once a day for 2 weeks. You could go like every Friday for 2 months. Sometimes some jurisdictions impanel grand juries for longer, and you sit and hear case after case after case after case. So you get called for jury duty to do a grand jury, and you get a federal jury summons, not just a state jury summons. Let me know in the chat or in the comments if you've ever received a federal jury summons. Those states also use grand juries, so you can get impaneled on a grand jury at the state level too. I don't want to, somebody's going to be like, but Emily, states have grand juries. Yes, they do. Do you think the allegations back in 2015 led the feds to investigate? I have absolutely no idea. It depends on how this all went down. If this was part of a target on a website or if this was part of a target on him. If this was part of a target on him, then it's definitely possible. If he got swooped into the net on the target of a website, then his own activity got him in there. So yeah, that. I mean, I hate to say it like netting fish, but if you're looking at the website, you kind of net everybody that comes into the website versus targeting people one off, which is a little bit easier because if you've got the website and you can get everybody that's using it, it's a little easier than going person by person and IP address by IP address. Because again, to get the search warrants, to get the digital evidence, you have to have probable cause. Y'all are going to be walking away going, probable cause. The Fourth Amendment. Yes, we're just gonna have it like crim law all up in here about constitutional rights. Question here. I'm gonna move this over here so I can look that way. There we go. Question: if he were already told not to be around minors, would there be a reason? Would there be a reason for sex? I'm not understanding this at all. For the other information, the Springdale Police Department destroyed the evidence. I have no idea, Kathy. I am sorry that I can't answer that. There would have to be a court order or something, but I don't know. I don't know. Misopinionated. Hello. Are federal grand juries government employees? No. The Oprah Winfrey Show was tipped about Josh in 2007. OWS reported to police. OWS never aired the Duggar episode. If fair, federal grand juries are jurors. They're members of the public. So they're a jury of your peers, presumably. And they are seated through jury duty. Question, do we know who turned him in or how did they find him? That's, I've talked about quite a lot. This is what happens when I get behind on the chat. Welcome, Allie, as a channel member. Good to have you. I am going to try to get through questions. Bella, this is a great question. Does buying Britney's perfumes actually support her or does the money go to the wrong pockets? Well, the money goes into her estate. The estate is under the control of the conservatorship, but all of the money that she has comes out of that estate too. So it's a little bit of both. I'm sorry for that. Also, you guys, there are over 4,000 of you. I can't imagine that all of you are subscribed. We're like 2,000 subs away from 100,000. So if you want to go ahead and watch the bigger turnover, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I would sure appreciate it. B, ready to dye my hair purple a little bit just to piss off my mom. Sorry, Mom. I know that you watch on Fridays. I love you. You're going to love my purple hair. You're the best. So yeah, we're at 97. Let's see if we can get to 98. Let's do it. Maybe we might actually get to 100K by Friday. We'll have to do something else to celebrate on Friday. If we get to 100K by my birthday, you guys, I'll let you pick. We'll do something ridiculous other than dyeing the hair. Y'all, bing. We're going to have to do Lawyer Cat and the Pirate this evening. Hey, 97.8. All right, law nerds. Thank you. African lady, yes, our feelings. It's also messed. This goes into it's all so fucked up. It's just all really fucked up. Question, Bridget, this is a great question in the realm of let's make people better criminals. Does using VPNs make this sort of investigation more difficult? It can make it more time consuming, but it does not make it impossible. The internet lives forever. Welcome, Debbie, to the Law Nerds. We do have a few chat rules, but it's only so that this is the most fun place to be on the internet and people... Oh, why? Why? Do you guys hear that? I don't know why FaceTime was ringing through my computer, but it was. A friend of mine texted me today and sent me a photo and was like, I am sitting here having my coffee scrolling through Reddit. Why the fuck am I seeing your face? I'm like, oh shit, what did I do now? But it was funny. And then I got a text this morning as well from my aunt going, why are you on the ABA website? I'm like, yeah, hi, I'm Emily. I'm Places. But yes, the American Bar Association, the big bar association over all of the lawyers, interviewed me, and I was on their podcast and on their website and stuff. I was like, oh, the next time somebody pops off on Twitter and is like, Emily's a paralegal, I'm going to send them the link to my article with the ABA. No, I'm teasing. I don't really care. Question, could the third party custodian also be there to guard that the defendant doesn't harm themselves? I mean, tangentially, the purpose is to make sure they deal with that they adhere to their conditions of release. But tangentially, yes, I would imagine that that would be a thing as well. Though if that was a huge concern, I don't know if the defense attorneys would argue for them to be out or if they would argue for them to be hospitalized if that becomes a real concern. Because again, and I say this a lot, whenever there is when there are shootings, when there are people who take their own life, these cases I mean, there are some states that still have the death penalty, but most of these things are not death penalty cases and should go through the justice system. People should be able to do their time and rehab and come out. Some people do not see it that way. Question: for this specific case, it's just those few days in May that are being investigated, that are being charged. It's most likely possible that there's others. Would that turn into a separate case? Boxy, this is a fantastic question that touches on probably more issues than you might have considered, or maybe not. But if there are more things that are known to the government, they have to charge them now. They can't just wait and be like, surprise, there's more. If you don't use it, you lose it. Double jeopardy is part of that. If you're aware of the charges and you bring other charges and don't bring those charges that you could have brought, that could be brought in, you can't do that. So you can't just sit on things and bring case after case after case. If they're not discovered at this point, if there's not evidence to charge them at this point, then yes, there can be subsequent cases. But if they are known to the government at this time and they have evidence of it, they have to bring it now. Use it or lose it. I have missed a few super chats. Navy Blue question, yes, the Ashley Madison situation was a few years back. There was an Ashley Madison situation. I was informed of it today. Again, I am not the source for all of your Duggar needs. I am your source for the legal shit. There are other channels. I saw people tagging Fundy Fridays on Twitter and some others. Who was the lucky third party? We don't know. I don't know. It depends on what the court decides to do. So it depends. Yamino, Ken has cat lawyer. Yes, we will has cat lawyer as a palate cleanser in a minute. We've binged this, I think, 2 or 3 times tonight. So yes, I forget what we were at when we started. Were we at 97.6 and we're at 97.8? We can definitely has cat lawyer in just a minute. Question: is it rare that a person with a conservatorship talks to the court? I don't know. I would have to look. I don't follow a ton of conservatorships very closely. Most conservatorships are dealing with people who are mentally incapacitated to the point that they need the conservator to speak on their behalf and to act on their behalf. So I don't know. It can happen. There's room for it. I just think it's in the unusual end because of what a conservatorship is normally for. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Smidge of Random. I'm going to try to get to a few more questions before we move to court of public opinion. You guys, thank you so much for all of your shirt. Hello, Boobla Silly. Question: if we do get summoned, can we put it on a shirt for merch? We will see. Yes, we will see. Well, no, they might be copyrighted. I would have to see. That is a question for the chat. Again, I will just say, these are all allegations. And it's like what I said with the Jen Shaw case. These are all allegations, but also the feds bring allegations when they believe that they have a substantial weight of evidence. So they are allegations that likely have a substantial weight of evidence behind them. So that is what that is. Question: if you hit 100K by Tuesday, you need to dye your hair on live in Star Wars costume in honor of May the 4th, please. We will do something for May the 4th. I love May the 4th. I'm not going to dye my hair on stream. I am going to have my hair dyed, not by myself. But we will, if we hit, well, let's see when we hit 100K, I will try to get in as fast as possible. And I'm sure I will be able to make that happen. Kibby, hello. Could Britney ask to be released from the conservatorship? Do I think it's even possible to be completely on her own? She has the 2 conservatorships. I have long thought, personal opinion, that she might want to be more free of the personal conservatorship, the conservatorship of the individual, and maybe not with the financial stuff, or roll the financial stuff over to Bessemer Trust as like a business manager, not necessarily as a conservator of the person. So could she ask for that? Yes, but there would need to be notice to the other parties for that to happen. There would need to be a hearing on it. There would need to be briefing and stuff. So I would imagine her attorney would say, if this is what you want to do, we need to file motions. I don't know what she wants to tell the court, and I will have a better, once we see what she says, we'll know. But if she asked for that, the court wouldn't necessarily grant it. The court would take her input and then set a hearing so it could be briefed by both sides and probably have doctors' evaluations and what have you. So her attorney has made it very clear lately that he reserves the right to ask for the termination of the conservatorship of the person. So she could be out of the conservatorship of the person and leave the financial one under Bessemer Trust and ask to have her dad removed. There's a lot of possibilities there. Thank you, Corey. Love to your mom, and go purple hair. Yes, I think she will love it when she sees it. She generally calls me after live stream, but yes, I was definitely being sassy. Thank you so much, Orbit. Oh, we can definitely do more likes. We've had over 4,000 people watching the whole night. Hello, Ashley Claire. Thank you. I hope his sisters find some kind of peace today. I hope so too, Ashley. And thank you for super chatting and bringing that up. Look, we don't have control over our families, right? We don't have control over our children and what they do. We have control over how we respond to it. I actually think that the Duggars statement on social was a good statement. We want to see the truth, no matter what it is. And we're praying for everyone. That is their truth. This is going to be very hard for his family. I imagine it is something that's wrapped in a tremendous amount of shame. I mean, how could it not be? And we wrap things in shame that shouldn't have shame. There is place for shame in society. If this is true, if you are convicted, there's room for shame here. This is not okay. This is illegal. This is really bad shit. There's room for that here with regards to CP. But that's not his family member's fault. It's just like if you had a family member that was convicted of a DUI or a DUI related death or an SA. I mean, it's not your fault. They're your sibling, and it's not your fault they've done what they've done. And you can say, this is a hard time for our family and try to deal with it. But I appreciate those thoughts. I think that we can parse the two out, because this is going to be very hard for his family and publicly mortifying, right? But also, these are his actions, and he's going to be held accountable for them if these charges are found to be true. Hello, Illuminacy. I see you in the chat. Good to see you. Question, coffee and conversation. What do you make of Josh opening up a bunch of LLCs since the raid? I have no idea about that. And putting them all under his wife's name, including proceeds from selling the family home. I don't know anything about that, so I have no thoughts about it. As I said, I have not done deep Duggar diving because A, it's not the TV that I watch, and B, it's not something I'm hugely familiar with. But how do we know he opened them up and put them in the wife's name and the wife didn't open them up? Is that part of like their dynamic that I'm just not aware of? Maybe. I watch too much Housewives. Hello. I hope I say it right. Santiva Major. I've been subbed for a while, but this is my first live. Welcome to your first live. Heather says, I was on provincial jury duty once. It sounds like something out of Beauty and the Beast when you say it that way. It was like, I was on provincial jury duty. It sounds so lovely. Jury duty here is like, I had to park a mile away. No, that was in LA. It's probably not that way in Tennessee. I had to park a mile away and walk over pigeons hanging upside down with blood dripping on the sidewalk to get to the courthouse. There was a butcher. I have very strong sense memories of having to park like a mile away from the courthouse in the summer as a law clerk, and there was a particular butcher that had deep fried pigeon. They were $5 per pigeon, and they would hang them up outside the shop to drain them, and it was hot and there was smell. So it was a whole thing. That was a summer. I missed 2 super chats. I'm going to get these, and then we're going to go from there. Thank you. Pam Duncan, yeah, the federal prosecutors don't like to lose. It's why I tease about being a federal prosecutor being a little bit easier, because they've got all the evidence before they start, where with, again, the state prosecutors, like a crime happens and then law enforcement's tracking down witnesses and you're still doing investigation as things are moving. It's a whole different vibe versus, oh, we got a couple of years. We'll just indict it when we're ready. That is not what it's like working as a state prosecutor. Question, can we get merch international? Yes, in most places. There's very few places where you cannot get merch international, but if you are able to watch YouTube, you can probably get the merch. And our merch distributor actually has locations in South America, Australia, and Spain. So it's pretty easy to ship there. Canada has been taking a little longer. I'm not thrilled with that. It's not Canada's fault. It's a distributor issue, but yes, we do. So we have locations international too, where they ship it from. Question. Okay, I'm saying question just to get this out there, but it seems like a lot of misconception on the process of cases in general. Yes, I should. And I've covered it in a couple others, and I will do it again. I'll do a foundational video on it. Yes. All right, I'm going to do, it's almost time for Lawyer Cat. I'm going to do just a few more, and then we're going to do Lawyer Cat. Can you do a segment on the MTV reality star Ronnie Moraga? Ronnie from Jersey Shore, Ronnie, and his second DV arrest this week. I tend not to cover a lot of DV because DV is very deeply complex, and victims really don't always want that in the media. But I'm taking that under advisement. Thank you, Molly Jarvis. I saw Fundy Friday linked on Twitter. I am not familiar with their content, but it's good to see the chat saying yes. Beckham, the mods will get you covered on how you become a channel member. Welcome. Hello, Lori Smith. It's good to see you. We're going to get over 100,000. It's going to be very exciting. It's a big milestone. B, there was a joke early on in the channel with my kid being like, you're not a real YouTuber, so you have a silver play button, but it's like a fraction of YouTubers that have a silver play button. But we also have a spot for it right there. So we're ready. It's a very large channel milestone. Jax576S. Yeah, it looks smug to me too, but it could also be bewildered. But I don't know. There's something off for me about it too. Katya, you make it so easy. It's gonna be May. It's gonna be May tomorrow. It's gonna be May. I'm gonna make It's Gonna Be May jokes forever. I love that meme so much. It's gonna be May. All right. Cindy, thank you. Well, welcome. I mean, we haven't covered the fundies. We cover the legal stuff, but we cover the legal stuff in all realms of pop culture. So we are here for sure. All right. I have missed some things. I am sorry. Let me make sure I didn't. I'm trying to get to everything. Haswin, how does your mom feel about your tattoos? She's adjusting, but it's not her preference. She's not going to love it as they continue to grow well into my 40s and 50s. Do you know if TLC paid for his attorney? Zoe Dresden, TLC released a statement. Hold on. TLC released a statement. I think that Us Weekly has it. TLC said, according to Us Weekly, quote, TLC is saddened to learn about the continued troubles involving Josh Duggar. Um, 19 Kids and Counting has not aired since 2015. TLC canceled the show on the heels of prior allegations against Josh Duggar, and he has not appeared on air since then. Based on that statement from TLC, I'm going to go with he paid for his own attorney. I don't know why TLC would pay for it. There would be no cause or reason for them to do that at all. You guys, to everyone whose questions I missed, I am sorry. I'm trying to get to the last few super chats, and I know I've probably missed some, and I'm sorry if I did. It happens. It happens. It happens. Thank you, Lori Smith. It is huge. I appreciate you. Question: what is the maximum possible sentence for Duggar? 20 years is what it looks like, Brandy. I don't think the receiving and possessing can be run consecutively with like 20 years for the one and 10 for the other. I think they would run at the same time because they're relating to the same thing. So that is what that is, but it's a great question. Thank you. All right, let's we're going to have to get into court of public opinion. For those of you that are new, let me just explain to you what it is. We're going to give it 1 second. We're going to do a foundational lesson on what court of public opinion is. Court of public opinion is a fun way for us to debate more lighthearted topics and talk about how we define things, how we judge things, how we determine things, what the things are. We have covered all kinds of topics from food to toilet paper to all kinds of stuff, to flip-flops. And no, we didn't do flip-flops yet. We will do flip-flops. Pizza and pineapple. You can look on my Twitter and see some of our past and the community tab here, some very fun past court of public opinions, but it's our way to have a little bit of fun. You can hear that I'm stumbling over my words because we've been sick all week, but it's our way to have a little bit of fun, talk about things that are silly, and determine things like how do we decide this issue? How do we even decide what the court of public opinion believes? We don't know what it all believes. What is it anyway? So that is why we do court of public opinion. We put out a new question on Friday. We rule on the question on Tuesday during coffee and cursey words. We have been in the middle of our April apology bracket. The April apology bracket has been quite a lot of fun. Hello. We've switched. We've done both. The April apology bracket is for the worst YouTuber apology video, and it has been quite a lot of fun, if I do say so myself. Me hearties. Drink up, me hearties, yo ho. Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. God, Disneyland in California is opening again, and we don't live in California still, and I miss Disney so much. We're going to actually be booking Disney cruises soon here. I am ready to get back on the seven seas with the Pirates of the Caribbean. And I love a Disney cruise. And we've been watching the Pirates of the Caribbean movies again as a family because they're great. So that is what court of public opinion is. We have been covering the YouTuber apology bracket, and we have reached the final four. So let me pull up the final four and let's talk court of public opinion. Y'all, if you're not subscribed, let's see if we can make it bing again. Let's see if we can do it. There's still over 4,000 of us here on this beautiful Friday night. To be a Lawnerd, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button. We are running the final lap to 100,000. It means a lot to us up here, and it means a lot to me. So that is a great way to show your appreciation for all of the content that we put out on this channel. Let's get into it. What's her name? 1180. Have I ever been on a Christmas cruise? No. But we have been on Halloween on the high seas, and it was freaking amazing. It was amazing. Okay, you guys, we're in the final four of this. This has been a challenge. This was hard. There were some hard brackets. There were some very close rounds. So, we started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, now we're all the way up here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. We started with Tana Mojo versus Logan Paul. Tana won. Jenna Marbles versus Shane Dawson. Look, y'all, a lot of you didn't like Jenna Marbles being included. The Law Nerds voted on who was going to be in this bracket. Jenna's is probably one of the best YouTuber apologies, which is why she was knocked out in the first round. So we've got Tana and Shane. Then we had Scotty Sire versus Laura Lee's. Laura's is iconic, as it's probably as iconic as it is terrible. And then Manny MUA versus Olivia Jade. Manny's also was a bit more heartfelt, and I actually think Manny has come a long way from the days of that apology. So then we ran it down, Tana versus Shane. That one was hard for me. It was like the emotional manipulation of Shane versus the angry yelling and like bad bronzer and gray hoodie and pearls of the Tana Mojo for me. It was not easy. But Shane Dawson won that round. Then Laura Lee versus Olivia Jade. And I think that the reason Olivia Jade won here is and I need to double check that. Why does that feel wrong to me? Hold on, we're just gonna go look real quick and see if that's what happened. Where is my Twitter? I think that's what happened, but Laura's is iconic. And yeah, no, it was like by a hair. Look at this, and I'll pull it up on the community tab too. Laura Lee beat out Olivia Jade here, so I might have entered that wrong. You guys, I might have entered it wrong. That's always possible. Let me pull up my community tab real quick. This is like literally by a hair. I think Laura Lee beat out Olivia Jade, and I entered it in wrong on my bracket. Scandal! A scandal. Let me pull up the community tab because these polls went up in two places, and make sure that we had it correct. Let's go. Let's see the scandal. Let's pull up the community tab. All right, community tab is up. You guys, David Dobrik, Jeffree Star was tough. Some of these were really close. Laura Lee, Olivia Jade, you guys, Olivia Jade won on YouTube 52% to 48% with 46,000 votes, but lost on Twitter with 800 votes. So we've got to give it to the 4,000 votes with the 52%. So Olivia Jade beats out Laura Lee. There we go. It was close though. Olivia Jade, Shane Dawson. We'll see who takes this. I can't imagine it won't be Shane, but who knows? It might be. All right. Gabby DiMartino versus Toddy Westbrook, Baking My Silence. Gabby DiMartino won. Dirty Dom, Addressing the Drama versus James Charles, Holding Myself Accountable. James's was just so bad. So bad. So Gabby DiMartino versus James. James won. James is now in the final four. Dr. Mike admitting where I'm wrong, buried on like a second channel. I somehow think you get extra points for burying your apology not on your main channel. Like you get extra points for it being hidden on another channel. Someday we could just run off like all of Jeffree Star's apologies against themselves. Like we had to narrow down to even get to the bracket. We had to narrow down which apology, which is why they're titled, because some of these YouTubers have a lot of apologies. And so we had to go through and figure out which apology had to be put into the bracket and then go from which apology runs against others. So Dr. Mike, extra points for bearing it on a sub channel against David Dobrik. David Dobrik this was a hard poll because Dr. Mike's wasn't good either. And I think against like Dr. Mike against Gabby DiMartino, he might have won, but Dr. Mike pulled against David Dobrik, and there you go. So there's David Dobrik. Jaclyn Hill, My Lipsticks versus Jeffree Star. Again, I think Jaclyn might have beat some of these other ones out, but Jeffree Star's was close there. So Jeffree Star versus David Dobrik was really, really close. It was really close on both platforms, and Jeffree Star won. So where is it? These were really, really close. This is with almost 10,000 votes at 51 to 49%. Just a close vote. So now we're running off James Charles versus David Dobrik, Shane Dawson versus Olivia Jade. Those polls will be up tonight after the live stream. Once those polls are up, we will vote on those. And then on Monday, I will put up the final two, the finals. And then Tuesday, we will have a result for whose is the worst YouTuber apology video ever. Now, there are some good apologies. Like some of these, not these. I mean, Jenna Marbles and I think Manny's are some of the better ones out of this group. There have been YouTuber apologies that are not terrible. I think it's a very hard thing to do depending on what kind of era we're in. Like Laura Lee old school YouTube, I think, was a whole different situation. Like the climate that Laura Lee and Manny MUA were apologizing in were very different than where Jeffree Star and James Charles are. They've had a lot, like James's was so recent. He's had a lot of bad apologies to draw inspiration for what not to do from and really find a way to do it. His also, admits to crimes, in my opinion. Shane Dawson manipulates his audience. Olivia Jade just didn't even give a fuck. She probably shouldn't have apologized because, well, no, she should have apologized, but not the way that she did. And she just didn't care at all. So you guys tell me what you think. Tell me what you think will be Shane versus Olivia first. Give me a 1 for Shane, a 2 for Olivia in the chat. I just want to see what you guys think. And then we will go to the next one. So a 1 for Shane, a 2 for Olivia. Who do you think wins between those two? Who do you think? Jake's Baby Cakes, I agree with you. Scotty's was not an apology at all. You guys are 1-1-1-1-1. So for those of you watching on Facebook, the YouTubes have a lot of 1s. Amy, I like it. Going against the grain. 2. I see some 2s here. 1. Lots of 1s in the chat. Lots of 1s for Shane over Olivia Jade. And I think that might be how it goes when we put this up. All right. James Charles versus David Dobrik. 3 for James, 4 for Dobrik. 3 for James, 4 for Dobrik. Let me see what you guys think. Shane will win, but I wish Olivia would get punched by reality. I mean, it's a fair thing. Pretty Little Thing, hello. It's good to see you. Welcome to live. We're just wrapping up Court of Public Opinion. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Oh, that's a lot of 3s. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. I see lots of 3s. James Charles, gosh. How do you think David Dobrik's not watching any of this go down on social media? James actually might be, but what do you think James thinks when his is? Here's the thing. Shane's versus James will be interesting if this is where we get to, because James seems to admit to crimes. Shane admits to being a total asshole. And so we're running down two different things. You guys, it binged again. Oh my word. Thank you. Well, if you're still here and you're not subscribed, there's still time. James, like crimes. Shane, I don't think there's any criminal behavior in Shane's, but asshole and audience manipulation. And David Dobrik's is also terrible. And Olivia's is just like, meh. Oh, you guys, I'm blown away. Yes, Kelly 3, lots of dings tonight. That's a lot of new subs. Thank you, all the new law nerds. We've had a lot on this channel this week. I was sick this week. We have a new video up regarding the James Charles employment lawsuit. So if you're interested in YouTuber stuff, we will. I was going to, the podcast is getting shifted this week, but there will be a video up about James Charles's employment lawsuit and Dave Ramsey's employment lawsuit, because employment law is very easy. Oh, Katya was like, that's 4 dings. Thank you. Thank you, Missy. And Katya, thank you for counting. I lose track. Happy birthday early. May all you wish for come true. Thank you. Have a great day. I appreciate it. So what were we talking about? We were talking about the apologies. No, we were doing some housekeeping for the week. So I was sick, but the James Charles video is up. I am going to talk about the Dave Ramsey employment law thing, and I will juxtapose the two because there's definitely room for that conversation. There is going to be a new video and podcast episode up next week about all that's going on with the Girardi case and a legal commentator attorney going after or asking the court if they can go after Erica Jane, which is interesting. I have thoughts. So there's a lot that's going to be coming next week, and maybe, just maybe, we will hit 100,000 next week. We are so close. I'm blown away by the Law Nerd support. One Goddess Geek, you're welcome. I mean, the Duggars are not something I play close attention to, but with when you get into the criminal law space and federal indictments, I find that there's a lot of misinformation that gets out very, very quickly. And it's always helpful to say, this is the process. These are the charges. This is what they mean. These are the allegations. This is the indictment, and then go from there. So I will be keeping an eye on this. I don't know what we will see, if anything, before May 5th. I'm guessing probably not. And then we will talk on May 5th or 6th about what happens at the detention hearing, and go from there. So new polls will be up tonight. We've talked about the members only live stream for next week. We've done all the housekeeping stuff. You guys have hit the like button. You guys have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. This is what we do here. We break down the law. The royal we. I break down the legal side of the pop culture shit that we all want to talk about anyway. And this week, we all wanted to talk about this arrest and this indictment. And so here we are. Let's see how fast this video gets demonetized by YouTube. I'm going to check and see if it's already demonetized. I'm going to guess it's yellow. Yep, already yellow. Of course you are. Of course you are. And that's probably going to happen because why not? Aaron, hello. Good to see you. I also can't wait for purple hair. Nice to see you in the chat. I look forward to us getting to chat again. It's so good to see you. And if you guys are in LA, you need to be listening to Aaron Bender. He also has a podcast. Sam Munoz, friend, it's so good to see you. We are so close to 100K. I'm very excited. You guys, it's been an amazing week. I'm finally feeling better. So that's a good thing. And I appreciate all of you. 100K, somebody said Elton John cosplay. I will consider cosplay. I don't think I can pull off Elton John cosplay. I will consider some kind of cosplay. We'll have to, I will talk to the mods and the team and the members and figure out something for the birthday stream next week. Maybe we'll have purple hair by then. Who knows? Who knows? 97.9. We're gonna hit 98 maybe by tomorrow morning. You guys are the best law nerds. I will be back next week. I will be on social this weekend. If anything goes crazy, I will consider doing a live. You know, I love to come and chat with y'all. But if stuff goes crazy and you want to stay in the loop, join the text crew if you're in North America. TextEmily.com from your mobile device, and it will get you right onto there. There's a link down below in the description that'll get you there too. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for being here. I am blown away by all your support, and I truly appreciate being able to do what I love doing the most, which is breaking down the law with the cursey words for y'all. I am blessed to be here. I am so happy to be with you, and I'm very excited that it's gonna be May. Have a good night. I'll see you this weekend. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just textemily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.